You don't want to pitch like your entire line. You want to pick maybe one or two products, or maybe just one collection that has a cohesive theme, and pitch that particular thing.
You're listening to Thrive by Design, business, marketing, and lifestyle strategies for your jewelry brand to flourish and thrive. Let's get started.
Welcome to episode number 97 of Thrive by Design. I'm Tracy Matthews here, and I'm your host today for the Thrive by Design podcast. And I'm super thrilled to be talking to Andreea Matei of Launch, Grow, Joy, and Media Leads. And I'm thrilled about this episode because I love talking about all things PR, but I also love Andrea's approach to getting media exposure. Because as we know, to get more exposure, to get our name out there, to reach more of our dream clients, it's important to get beyond our circle of friends at a certain period of time. So our circle of friends and family are great for like helping us build our business when we're first starting. But as we begin to grow and as our businesses start to expand, getting media exposure is really important for several reasons. It helps us build credibility for our brands. It helps us reach audiences that we might not otherwise reach. And it also helps create credibility and position you as sort of a brand to be sought after. So there's about 1,000 reasons more why media exposure is important. But today I'm really thrilled because Andreea is going to walk us through how to triple your media leads in 30 days or less. And one of the cool things that she's sharing with us today is what you can do month by month to pitch media and what editors are looking for actually every month of the year. She's also going to share with you a really amazing download that you can grab that you can use as a reference guide. And on top of that, we have something else super cool for you. Andreea is going to talk a little bit more about her PR service, Media Leads. But before we do, I wanted to share a little bit more about Andreea. She is really a force to be reckoned with. She is the founder of launchgrowjoy.com. And she also has been on a long entrepreneurial journey. She had a t-shirt line that was really successful that she sold. She also launched a soap line, I think about 2 years ago, which is amazing. I loved her soaps. I wish she was still making them. And she's learned a ton, and she loves to teach entrepreneurs how to get more traffic to their online stores and how to build more media presence in the media through gift guides and monthly media placements. So I'm very excited to have Andreea on the show today. This is probably the third or fourth time I've featured her either on a video blog or on our podcast. So it's exciting to have her back because we always have amazing conversations, which is going to be amazing. So let's get excited and get started. But before we do, I want to just take a really quick word from our sponsor. Today's sponsor is halsteadbead.com. One of the things that I really love about Halstead, they are an amazing company. It's a family-owned business. They've been in the industry for years and years and years. You've heard me have Hillary Halstead Scott here on the show. She's just incredible. They really are out there to support small business and family-owned businesses. And the thing that I love about them is every year they put out this opportunity for designers to apply for their grant. There are a couple rules involved. You have to be in business for less than 7 years and also be a US-based company. But the cool part about it is that it's an opportunity for you to get a cash investment in your business to use to either grow your collection or to get more exposure or to build your brand in so many ways. And I love Hillary's approach. You've heard her on the show several times. I've had her on a few times. And she was also a speaker at our live event last year on our panel. And she has just a wealth of knowledge about the jewelry industry, business, and she's really out there to support the company Halstead, along with Hillary at the helm, to support you in your jewelry business. So if you're interested in checking out more about the Halstead grant, head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/Halstead grant. That's flourishthriveacademy.com/Halstead grant. And they're giving you another little sweet bonus. You can head on over to halsteadbead.com and use the code FTA2017 and get $10 off your first order of $100 or more. And they have really great supplies, bindings, materials that you need to make your jewelry beautiful and really build an amazing business. All right, let's dive into our episode right away. Today, I have a very special guest with me, Andreea Matei of Launch, Grow, Joy, and MediaLeads.com. Andreea, thanks so much for being here.
Oh, Tracy, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to chat with you again.
Well, I love having you on the show. I feel like I have you on at least once a year, either in the past on our blog and now on the podcast, to talk about getting more media traction, getting more exposure, holiday gift guides. Like, it runs the gamut. And today we're going to talk a little bit more about how to triple your media leads in 30 days or less, which I know everyone can totally use and utilize for their business, especially for a jewelry business, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's one of the topics that I'm most passionate about talking about. So I am super excited to share how everybody can really grow, like double and triple their media leads.
Oh my gosh, this is going to be so fun today. So I want to dive right in. But before I do, I know that a lot of people in our audience know who you are, but then there's, we always have newbies around. So I would love to hear, or for you to just tell us a little bit more about who you are, tell us about your businesses and your journey into kind of having this passion for building media lists and media leads and all that stuff.
Sure. So I started my entrepreneurial journey. I can't believe it, but it was a little over 10 years ago.
So crazy.
It's crazy how I know how time flies. And I started out with a t-shirt business. And this was like back in 2006, 2007, before the days of Shopify and before e-commerce was so popular like it is today. So the landscape was quite different. But one thing that I learned and realized with my t-shirt business was that in order for me to grow my sales, I had to focus on publicity. So I started to learn how to pitch editors. I started learning what they're working on, how the whole industry works. And I took every course I could. I read books. I, even practiced by sending out a ton of email pitches. And before I knew it, I started to get featured in a ton of magazines and on TV and on celebrities. And I realized that it was such a great way to get a steady stream of sales for my business because I would be pitching magazines every single month. And we're going to talk about themes and what magazines are looking for in a second. But I really realized that if I can just set aside a bit of time each month to pitch based on what the magazines were looking for, I can have a steady stream of sales, every single month. So that's something that I became really focused on, really passionate about. And then I started getting emails from other entrepreneurs saying, hey, how did you do that? Can you teach me? What courses did you take? How did you learn? And before I knew it, I was teaching online courses on how to get publicity for your online business. So that's kind of how I started. I ended up running my t-shirt business for 4 years before I sold it. And I've been doing publicity and coaching and consulting and teaching online courses about publicity since 2011. So it's been a fun journey so far.
Super fun journey and so great because I've loved watching you. You were one of our first sort of strategic partners over here at Flourish and Thrive. And I remember the day you reached out like, hey, I heard you were launching a course. I would love to be involved. So it's been fun to watch you grow. And, as someone who's had a product-based business for, dude, I can't believe it's like 20 years. I can't even say that out loud. But, for a long time, like I understand and know the importance of how media has really affected my business, how getting my jewelry on celebrities has really helped build my credibility, and how all of that has broadened my exposure, and how media in particular can create such massive social proof for any product-based business, but, specifically jewelry as well. So it's awesome to have you here.
Yeah, definitely. And it's likewise. I mean, it's been awesome to watch you and Robin grow as well, and see you everywhere and help so many jewelry designers. So it's been really awesome. It's been a fun journey for both of us, I think.
I totally agree. So let's dive right into this media stuff because media exposure is a huge opportunity for any jewelry brand. As I mentioned before, to get social proof and ultimately to make more sales. And there's a lot of ways to leverage media to get more sales. But there's so many different types of media exposure. Can you tell us a little bit more about some of the opportunities that are working right now to get exposure for your brand?
Yeah, sure. So as you mentioned, there are quite a few different ways you can go about it. There are national magazines like Vogue and Glamour and all the ones that you see in all the major bookstores, and you can pretty much find anywhere. So that's one way to do it. You can also reach out to local and regional magazines, and those are much smaller. They have less circulation, but the chances of getting featured in one of those is much greater because oftentimes they're looking for local products, local entrepreneurs. entrepreneurs to feature. So oftentimes I tell entrepreneurs to start with their local media and then regional media and then national magazines as well, because there is great opportunity in both of them. Then there are, as you know, working with influencers and getting reviewed on YouTube or Instagram. There's also things like working with influential blogs and online websites. So there's quite a couple of different ways you can go about publicity. We're going to focus mostly on print magazines today, like the national and regional and local ones, and what they're working on and what they're looking for. But yeah, I would recommend, if you have the opportunity as a jewelry designer, to pursue all of these. And you don't have to do them all at once. You can sort of just work on one segment at a time. But I think if you can add all of these different strategies to your marketing, like your marketing strategy, I think that's going to be really helpful.
It's going to be so helpful because you don't, like you said, you don't need to do them all at once, but maybe you have like every week's like a different focus or whatever, and it takes time.
That's actually what I learned too after doing PR for my own brand, is that I would just set aside a time each week when I would focus on publicity. And, it's not something that you have to do every single day. Just set aside like an hour or two each week, focus on that and really dive into it. And I think you can get a lot of great results.
Yeah, an hour or two is not that much time either.
Not at all.
Okay, cool. So what are some of the topics that editors are looking for every month, and how do you figure that out?
Okay, so this is something that I've learned by looking at, I was going to say hundreds of editorial calendars, but by now it's thousands
yeah, right.
Of editorial calendars, because it's all I look at all day. But I realized that there's different themes that magazines are looking for every single month. And yes, they do vary the kind of products and stories that they feature, but oftentimes they will cover these different themes in their magazines throughout the year. So one thing I actually wanted to mention before I talk about that is that the national magazines work about 3 to 6 months in advance. So let's say you want to be featured in their December issue. Probably you want to start pitching them in July or August, or even sometimes as early as June. And I know that sounds really crazy, but they do work ahead of time.
Oh, yeah.
So that's something that, as a jewelry designer, you should keep in mind, because you do want to plan this out. Let's say, it's February and you want to be featured as a Valentine's Day gift. You can start pitching in January. That's already way too late. By that time, magazines are working on summer issues and so on. So one thing to keep in mind is that there is a 3 to 6 month lead time with national magazines. And then with the local and regional ones, it's usually about, I want to say like 2 to 3 months, or maybe 2 to 4 months or so. So that's something you want to keep in mind as you are pitching magazines. But I want to go through every single month, if that's okay, Tracy. And
yeah, let's do
talk about what magazines, like the main themes that they're looking for. And I know at the end of the podcast, you're going to talk about like a sort of a magazine themes cheat sheet that I put together. And you're going to share the link. So you guys can take notes if you want, or you can just download the cheat sheet that we're going to talk about at the end of the podcast episode. But basically, in January, a lot of magazines are looking for products that are centered around New Year's resolution, fitness, dieting, detox, sort of like a new start, a new you. So if you have any jewelry that's inspirational in nature, this is a perfect time to be pitching that. And remember, if you want to get in the January issue, August is when you want to start pitching for that. So that's something to keep in mind. And a lot of jewelry falls into this category. I know a lot of designers have jewelry with words on it, or or things that inspire you. So if that describes you, then you definitely should be keeping an eye out for the January issue.
You could have like your word of the year stamped on a bracelet. And that could be your pitch, even like word of the year bracelet or something.
Perfect. Yeah, and the thing is, even if, let's say, you don't have a jewelry design like that, you can think about creating one, right? If it falls in line with your current line and current designs, why not? It's just going to help you get out there even more.
We used to create heart stuff specifically for Valentine's Day. And like, I'm not a heart jewelry person, but we did it just because.
Perfect. Exactly. And I'm glad you brought that up because Valentine's Day is what I wanted to talk about next with the February issue. So a lot of magazines, most of them, especially the women's magazines, will have a Valentine's Day gift guide. And I would say for this one, any type of jewelry goes, whether it's inspirational or handmade or luxury or upscale. It really, all of it goes. So everyone should be pitching in September for February issues for pitching their product as a Valentine's Day gift guide. And it's funny, Tracy, you mentioned that you used to do stuff with hearts. I actually did that with my t-shirts as well. So I made a t-shirt specifically for that said love on it, and I pitched it as a Valentine's Day gift, and it got a lot of media attention. So this is one way you can think outside the box a little bit and just get more exposure. So that is a huge month, I think, especially for jewelry designers. Now, moving on to March. So in March, magazines are looking for spring fashion and spring travel products, spring beauty products. So if you have again, I think any type of jewelry can fit into this because you can pitch it as a great item for spring fashion, like what's new this spring, what you should wear with your spring outfit. So that is a really great angle to be pitching as well. And you want to start pitching that in October. So pitch in October for March for spring fashion. Now, in April, a lot of magazines are covering eco-friendly products, and they talk about a lot like their green issue to celebrate Earth Day. So if anyone listening has jewelry that's handmade, that's maybe made from recycled materials, or that's eco-friendly, or that can be recycled, all of that can be pitched for the April issue. And you want to pitch that in November. And I used to do this with my t-shirts as well because my t-shirts were made out of bamboo. And I know a ton of jewelry designers can fall into this category as well. So April is the perfect time to be pitching eco-friendly products. Now, May is another one of my favorite months, and that's because May is Mother's Day, and it's also graduation. So a lot of magazines have a Mother's Day gift guide. They have a graduation gift guide, especially the parenting magazines. So again, your jewelry or everyone's jewelry can fit into this category. If it can be gifted to a woman, you can pitch it as a Mother's Day gift or even as a graduation gift as well. And you can pitch if you personalize your jewelry and it can be customized. You can approach that angle as well, like a personalized Mother's Day gift. So that's something that I think would be a great fit for everyone. And for that, you want to think about start pitching that in December. June and July are a little trickier because there isn't as much, but you can still pitch your product. So June is Father's Day, and magazines, especially parenting magazines and men's magazines, do a Father's Day gift guide. So if you have any sort of jewelry that is great for men, you can go ahead and pitch it for that. And then also magazines talk about beach products and summer products. So if you have any sort of like coastal themed jewelry or jewelry that would be perfect for the summer, and I know a lot of jewelry designers can fit into that category, you can go ahead and pitch that for both June and July as well. And just take the angle of, this would be a great jewelry to go with a beach outfit or, with a barbecue outfit or something like that. If your jewelry, if your jewelry fits into that. So really you can think about it like every single month, there is something for you to be pitching. Now, August, again, is all about fall fashion, or even though, August is still summer, but magazines are starting to look at fall fashion. And there's also a lot of wedding coverage in August. So if you have jewelry for brides or anything that would be great for a wedding or for the fall, August is when you want to get featured, and you want to start pitching for August in March. So again, make sure you plan ahead. But again, I think a lot of jewelry designers can pitch their product as wedding jewelry or as a fall fashion. Now, September, again, is even more into fall fashion. And then there's also a lot of back to school products. So if you have jewelry that would be great for kids and actually even for moms or parents, a lot of magazines, when they do their back to school gift guide, they talk about oftentimes products for the parents as well, not just for the kids that are going back to school. So I think, again, many jewelry designers who are listening can have their jewelry featured in back to school gift guides. And then again, fall fashion, which is usually September is the largest or the biggest issue that talks about fall fashion. So again, anyone can be a great fit here. Now we have a couple of more months to cover. So October is all about Halloween, breast cancer awareness month, and fall weddings. So again, if you have any jewelry that can be great for Halloween, you can pitch that. If you have any jewelry where you're donating a percentage of your profits to breast cancer awareness, then that would be a great one to do here. And I used to do this with my t-shirts as well, where I would donate a percentage of one particular t-shirt to breast cancer awareness. And, there's the crazy thing is that there are different awareness months, every single month. So if you want to expand your reach even further and make a difference even more, you can pick what you're passionate about, whether it's ALS or or cancer or I don't know, MS, whatever topic you're passionate about, there is a month that is celebrating and bringing awareness to that topic. So you can always donate a percentage of your profits to that particular charity or cause and talk about that when you're pitching your product. So that's something that I wanted to mention as well. And then there's also fall weddings in October. So just like they were talking about summer weddings in August, they're now talking about fall weddings in October. So if you have jewelry that fits into that category, then go ahead and pitch that starting in May. So now I want to talk a little bit about November and December. So in November, as you know, there's Thanksgiving, people start thinking about winter. So you can kind of pitch a product. There's a lot of talk about, bringing meaning and thanks back into your life and how you can sort of end out the year and start a new one. So if you have any kind of inspirational jewelry, again, I think this would be a great fit for that. And then December, this is my favorite month because this is when every single magazine talks about holiday gift guides. And Tracy, I know we've done webinars about holiday gift guides and I've talked about it so much, but this is really where everyone should be pitching. And you want to start that in June and July. So everyone's jewelry will fit into a holiday gift guide, whether it's gifts that give back, gifts under $50, luxury gifts, gifts for the hostess, eco-friendly gifts, and so on. So find the angle that defines your brand and go ahead and pitch your product for that particular theme for a holiday gift guide. So that is, you're going to have a bit more competition because everyone is pitching for holiday gifts, but the coverage is so much more. Whereas maybe in the rest of the issues, magazines might give 2 or 3 pages to product reviews. And their holiday gift guide in December, it can even be to like 20 pages or I've seen even more. So there's a greater opportunity for you to get featured, even though you have a bit more competition. So don't let that hold you back. I think everyone should be pitching for that particular issue. So that is just a kind of an overview, and again, there's magazines. We'll talk about other things outside of these specific topics, but this is just an overview. So just to give you guys an idea of, you really can pitch your jewelry every single month of the year. There's no excuse not to do it.
Wow, that was like intense and crazy great all at the same time, because it really puts it into perspective. Like there's so much opportunity out there that we forget. Like we're always focused on like maybe a certain month, but every single month you have an opportunity to get your jewelry into magazines or in local and national publications, which is super cool.
Yeah, exactly. And one thing I wanted to mention too is that bloggers are now, a lot of them are starting to follow the same format. So you'll find Valentine's Day gifts and spring fashion and eco products in a lot of blogs as well. So you can start pitching for blogs. Just remember that for that, you probably want to just pitch about a month in advance, not 3 to 6 months.
Yeah, you don't need as much time, which is awesome because you can always be like getting your things like a different lead time type of opportunities for the different holidays. The thing that I love too about gift guides so much is that people are actually shopping them. And so those are like the great opportunities for sales when it comes to publicity.
That's such a great point. Yeah, people, and I know I do this. Like, I look at Oprah magazine every year for gift ideas, whether it's gifts for myself or
Yeah.
or gifts for friends and family. So it really, like, people are ready to buy during that time.
One for me, one for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my
Exactly.
gosh. Okay, so we talked a lot about how you can, because my next question for you was going to be like, how can people get their, like, or some of the designers get, like, use these angles to cater what they offer? But it sounds, you kind of explain that. Do you have any more to sort of explain on how you can, like, say you have a specific type of jewelry brand, how you can kind of make it work for any of these stories?
Yeah, sure. And this is actually a question that I get asked a lot. And people often say, should I pitch my entire product line? Should I pitch just one product? So this is where you can actually, if you have multiple collections, that maybe you have an inspirational collection and maybe you have an eco-friendly collection, you can pitch that particular collection for that particular magazine's issue. So that's one way you can do it. Or, if you have jewelry that fits into every single one of these categories, I would usually pick maybe your best-selling items and pitch those as the main thing. But you don't want to pitch like your entire line. You want to pick maybe one or two products or maybe just one collection that has a cohesive theme and pitch that particular thing.
I was going to say, like, just a couple images embedded in the email instead of like giving them all choices, because like people can't decide if there's too much there.
Exactly. Yeah. You want to include no more than two images, is what I usually recommend.
Yeah. Great advice. Thank you so much. So, okay. Now that you've talked about what the themes are, what is the best way to connect with editors? And are there any best practices that designers should be considering?
Yeah, definitely. So the best way to connect with them is definitely via email. I know it might seem like maybe calling them would be a better option, but you don't want to call them. You want to email them. And the reason for that is because they can look at your images right away. They have an overview of what makes your jewelry stand apart, and they can actually forward your email or print it out and share it with other editors that they're working with. So email is definitely the best way to be pitching, and you want to be really specific. So when you are writing your email, in your subject line, you want to say jewelry for your Valentine's Day gift guide, or or product suggestion for your back to school guide. You want to be really specific with what it is that you are pitching. You don't want to say something like, and I see this a lot because I get pitched a lot too, but companies will say, new baby wear company launches innovative products, or something really generic that it's not even going to capture my attention. But if you are really specific and you're telling them what issue you're pitching and and what you're pitching, then that's going to definitely get their interest because it's more relevant to them. So when you are sending your email, I think the subject line is really important. So make sure that it is really specific and it's about them and what they're looking for, and not about you and who you are. We can, you'll talk about who you are in the body of the email.
That's really, really great advice, because I see a lot of designers, number one, being super generic. And if you can solve their problem and help them because editors are so busy, right?
Yeah.
Like they don't have time to respond to everything. If they can't tell from the headline, they won't open it. If they look and it's not like clear and concise, like what they're going to, if this is right for them or not, they're just going to move on. And I would say, like, would you agree? Like the more you, like if you keep providing like sort of like non-specific messages, that you might start getting ignored.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, this happens to me all the time where I get pitches that it's just a press release,
Yeah.
and yeah, I know it's terrible. And, there's some great information in that press release, but then why are they reaching out? What do they want me to do with it? Do they want me to write about that person? Do they want me to, interview them on my podcast? Do they want me to mention them on social media? Like what is it that they actually want from me when they're sending me that press release? So that's something you have to keep in mind. Like, what would you like to come out of you sending this email? And usually you would like to get featured in the November, 2017 issue, or, or in the Made in the USA products guide, or whatever it is that you want to be featured in. You have to be really, really specific. And then in the body of your email, it actually should be really short. So I have a rule, and my rule is no more than 3 to 4 paragraphs of 2 to 3 sentences for each paragraph. So I know that is kind of concise, but you want to keep it short and to the point, but at the same time provide them with the relevant information that they need. And the information that they need is things like the benefits of your jewelry, what makes them stand out from the competition, what are some of the features, and what makes you unique. So whether that's materials or your process or your story or the whole reason behind why you started your jewelry company. They want to know those. They also want to know your website. They want to know the price point of your products, whether it's the collection you're pitching or the particular products. And then you also want to offer them, they want to sometimes get the actual jewelry so they can either photograph it with their own props or, with their own style, or sometimes magazines will ask for your photos instead of asking for the actual jewelry. So I know this is an issue sometimes because some jewelry designers have jewelry that's, $100, $200, and even more per piece. And that can get really expensive. So if that describes you and your jewelry is more on the luxury or the upscale end, you can actually request for your jewelry to be sent back. So that's something you can do, and you can arrange ahead of time. So when the editor is requesting the sample from you, you can just say, hey, I'm happy to send this to you, but we do need this back to send it to other editors as well. So don't be shy to ask for it back if you feel like your products are really expensive. I don't usually recommend to ask for things to be sent back if it's under $100, but anything over $100, you pretty much have every right to ask for it back.
Yeah, and especially if it's fine jewelry, make sure you ask for it back and get they have to sign insurance and all that stuff. But so I have a question because I know that people are going to ask and be curious about it. How do you get the editor's email addresses?
So there's a couple of ways you can do it. You can purchase access to a media database, and there's quite a few out there, and those range in price anywhere from like $2,000 to $3,000 a year to maybe $10,000 and more. So if you have the budget for that, I would say that's the most direct way to do it and to get access to everyone. That's one way to do it. You can also use a PR service like Media Leads, which is why I started it, because I wanted to, I wanted this when I had my t-shirt business and there was nothing like it out there. So I ended up launching it myself. So that's one way to do it. The other way, which takes a bit more time, but is actually really inexpensive, is that you can use an email program that allows you to view people's email addresses. So there is one, it's my favorite one. It's called Email Hunter. And if you just Google Email Hunter and you can download the extension into your Chrome browser, then what you can do is you can actually go to LinkedIn and search, for, like, let's say you want to contact someone at Oprah Magazine. So you can search for people who currently work at Oprah Magazine who have said that in their profile. And then you can actually, if you have Email Hunter installed, when you click on their profile, this little red button pops up with the Email Hunter logo, and you can click on that and it'll tell you their email address. So it is sort of like a sneaky way to go about it, but it totally works. It takes a bit more time than if you were to buy access to a media database, but you can totally do it that way too. And I've done that too with like retail owners. If I wanted to get my products into, a retail store, I would just go and see who owns it on LinkedIn and then use Email Hunter and get their email address. So that is a great way. It's totally free to get people's email addresses.
Oh my gosh, that is such a ninja trick. I love it. I'm totally going to do that. Okay, so I have 2 more questions for you. The first one is earlier you talked about your free little cheat sheet for magazine themes. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so the cheat sheet basically outlines what I talked about earlier. So it has it's sort of like a one-pager that talks about every issue from January to December, what the themes are for that issue, and when you should be pitching. So that way you can sort of schedule it in advance and You don't have to think about, okay, it's June, what issue are they working on? You can just look at the cheat sheet, and let's say it's now June or December or whatever, and you can know exactly what issue to pitch for and what the main themes of that magazine are. So that is just like a one-page PDF that you can download.
Okay, awesome. And we're going to have that listed in the show notes, but you can also head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/magazine themes to grab it. That's flourishthriveacademy.com/magazine themes. Okay, so you've mentioned it a few times, and I'm a huge fan of media leads. We had a bunch of designers sign up last year, and they got most of them got like some really great placements in magazines and in other sort of publicity opportunities. So can you tell us a little bit more about your service, Media Leads?
Yeah, I'm very excited to work with all your jewelry designers, Tracy. I'm so happy when I see them featured in all of these magazines. But basically, I started Media Leads because, again, it's something I wish I had when I had my product-based business.
I do too. I wish I had that back then.
Yeah. And then, once I started working one-on-one with entrepreneurs, I started doing their PR. I realized that I was pitching the same products to the same editors over and over again. So, I figured, is there a way for me to kind of package this in a way that instead of me doing the pitching, I can empower entrepreneurs and brands to do their own pitching? So basically what my assistant and I do, and I have 2 assistants now, so they reach out to hundreds of magazine editors and bloggers every single week. And we ask them, hey, what are you working on this week? What stories, what kind of products are you working with, and what deadlines do you need to meet? And we'll go ahead and help you find those products. So we do that, again, hundreds of editors each week. And then they write back to us and they say, hey, yeah, I'm actually working on my Mother's Day gift guide, and I'm looking for Mother's Day gifts that are under $50, or I'm looking for, jewelry that has a beach theme, and my deadline is August 27th, and here's my contact information. So what we do then is we take what information they give us, we put it in our media database, in our Media Leads database, and then if you as a member, if you think that particular lead is a good fit for your products, then you have the editor's name, email address, and their deadline, and a little bit about the magazine or the blog, so you know what it's about if you're not familiar with it. And then you can just go ahead and pitch them directly. So it's sort of like you don't need to work with a PR firm if you have Media Leads, and you don't need to do all your research about what editors are working on, because we do all of that for you.
Well, I think the great thing about too, it's such an affordable option because, like you said, doing something like doing that email hunter thing, it's a lot of work. And spending a couple $1,000s on, or up to $10,000 on a media list is an investment. And those media leads change. It's not, you buy it once and those change. So this is a really great opportunity to have like your finger on the pulse of what editors are actually looking for in a low cost solution, because you do sort of like DIY, right? Like where they can join the membership. And then you also have another like done for you service. But I think that this is like I would have killed for this when I was like actually actively pitching back in the day, because me and my team had to do it. And a lot of times what would end up happening is because we had to do all this research, it would fall by the wayside because other things would take priority. Because, like when you're running a business, there's things that need to happen right away. And PR is very important, but it's like not something that's going to like, it's not something that's like, if you didn't reach out, it wasn't going to, like you end the day bad. It was just like something that like, you need to do in order to grow your business and get more exposure. But it was like one of the first things that got cut off the plate. So this is because if we had to do work or whatever. So for me, like an opportunity like this, like we always, when we did our PR in-house, we always got the best results because we were committed to the outcome, right? Whereas when you work with a PR like rep or firm, like one of the big firms, they don't have your brand's vested interests as much as heart as they do the retainer fee that they're making. So this, I feel like, is like the perfect gap because it saves you perfect fill to that gap because it saves you all the time of the research and helps you, not push it by the wayside and actually do the work and pitch because it's basically just handed to you.
Exactly. Yes. And that's exactly why I started it, because I wanted to save people's time. I wanted to save their money. And I wanted to empower entrepreneurs and brands to kind of take this and run with it because and I've worked with PR firms and I do provide PR services. So I have nothing against PR programs or PR services, but they do charge a lot. They're also working with a ton of other clients at the same time. And no one can tell your story better than you can. So I think ultimately that's what it really comes down to. So when you are directly communicating with an editor, you get to know them, you get to establish that relationship. And when you're working with a PR firm, they have all the relationships and you don't, So this way, it's like you're in charge of those relationships and you're in charge kind of your own success.
And this is another great point because the relationship thing is so key because editors bounce around. So there was this one editor, Dawn, who was at Lucky Magazine, then she went to People, then she went to InStyle, then she went, to Glamour. So it's like I think when I first met her, she was like at 17. So these editors, you end up getting exposure in all these other magazines as well, because like the editors move around and when you have the relationship with them, they remember you.
Exactly. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So this is such an awesome episode today. I'm kind of blown away because I wasn't expecting it to be as amazing. I mean, I knew it was going to be amazing, but I didn't expect it to be as amazing as it was. And as always, it's so great to talk to you, Andreea. So thanks for being here today.
Oh, thank you so much, Tracy, for having me on today as well. I'm so excited.
All right, you guys, make sure that you grab your freebie, flourishthriveacademy.com/magazine themes. And then check out Media Leads. You guys, it's like one of the best investments you're going to make in your business. flourishthriveacademy.com/media leads. Thank you so much for listening today. Wasn't that a great episode? So make sure that you head on over to the show notes over at flourishthriveacademy.com/episode 97. You can find out more information about Halstead, our sponsor. You can also get more information about Andrea's amazing download and check out Media Leads. So head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/episode 97 to grab all the amazingness that we have in store for you. All right, you guys, thanks so much for listening. Until next time, this is Tracy Matthews signing off.